Welcome to the Highball podcast. This week I'm joined by Film Trigger, fellow YouTuber, and we talk all things Dark Phoenix, Snyder Cut, the Batman, and a few other different things. If you're not subscribed to Film Trigger, go ahead and go subscribe to him. And kick back, relax, maybe do some laundry, and enjoy the show.
Finally. What's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we're definitely talking about those X-Men movie.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw my post about when I went to get the tickets for the pre-screening. I never ever have the opportunity to go see a pre-screening ever because I work nights and weekends and so it never happens. And I'm like, well, I have the night free. I better go get the tickets now before they're sold out. Well, that wasn't an issue. I took a screenshot. Every seat was available, and by the time I made it to the theater, there's probably 4 or 5 people in there. I tell you what, man, it's sad that that's the note that they're gonna leave on.
Yeah,
it sucks. Like I enjoyed seeing all those actors in those roles, but it just wasn't the same. You know, it's like. Too little, too late, man.
Yeah, it felt really empty, when I saw it. Not just the theater, but the actual on-screen actors. I mean, it just felt like there was no more passion involved. Very studio-made film. Even the lighting was very studio lighting, like extra bright and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't feeling the movie.
And that was what's the guy who directed that? It was his first time directing, right?
Yeah, one of his first films. I think he directed some other film, but
yeah, or at least first major motion or something. Okay. I don't know, but you could definitely pick up an amateur vibe from the director's seat.
Yeah,
it was. Sorry, go ahead.
I thought, I was just gonna say, I think it could have been a better movie if they had a director with some kind of vision, somebody that had some talent. I think they could have did something with what they had,
Or even like somebody, Warner or not Warner, Fox, hey, first time in a director's seat in a pretty big franchise, let's give you a consultant.
Yeah.
Somebody, to stick with you to kind of show you the ropes, instead of throwing him to the wolves like that. And it reflected, I don't undermine his passion or his integrity with the film at all, but just a lack of experience kind of shined through, and not kind of, it fucking blasted through. Amongst other things swirling around the picture, Jennifer Lawrence wanting to be out, so obviously it was very painfully obvious that she cashed out a long time ago, and then the reshoots, all that swirling around the picture. It was just a perfect storm of what the heck,
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence, I read a story that she didn't want to put the makeup on for Mystique because it was too much work or something like that. And that really killed a lot of the scenes in Dark Phoenix because it really didn't make any sense why she was still in her human skin for a lot of these scenes.
Right. Oh yeah, when they went to the school. Yeah. And they talked to the students, she transformed back into her human form. And that was obvious. Why did you just do that? You're in a school for mutants. You don't need to hide yourself.
And she's in private with Professor Xavier. She's still with her blonde hair. What? I definitely. They were checked out. At least Jennifer Lawrence was checked out. I mean, she didn't want to be there. Yeah, I got that.
And she probably saw the writing on the wall. I mean, it can be easy to be well, her checking out was a problem, with how the movie did. But maybe she saw this coming and she's like, I'm only doing this because I'm contractually obligated to do this.
Yeah.
She probably saw that this is not going to work out because in my opinion, that franchise, especially with the younger cast, kind of died off with Days of Future Past. That to me was the end. It was a conclusion.
It was,
and fitting all these stories, in between the 70s and 90s is very forced. It's just I'm very aware that you're just trying to do this just for a cash grab.
Oh yeah, and definitely. I think the movie took place in the 90s too, so technically the cast should have been in their 50s and 60s and stuff.
But We could talk all day about Fox's continuity.
Yeah, all those giant holes they have. But yeah, Days of Future Past definitely should have been the ending. I don't even think Apocalypse was that bad, but I mean, compared to Dark Phoenix, Apocalypse is like a masterpiece. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, in Apocalypse, I agree with you. I wasn't all that upset or anything about it. It was just like,
just another
okay,
film.
that's a
Yeah,
thing. Okay, I can accept that, I guess.
yeah,
But I was still kind of cashed out with the Days of Future Past. Like, okay, I guess we're still doing this. It's a
yeah.
prequel, maybe, or no, it's a prequel to a sequel. I don't know. You guys are confusing me with your continuity lines.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, I think the no Wolverine thing. It's something we've come to expect from X-Men movies. You have an X-Men movie, you have Wolverine.
Even in
So
First Class, they had him there for like a scene, in like a bar scene. Like they
yeah,
could do something
one
like
of the
that.
most epic cameos ever.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was, but yeah, I mean, they definitely dropped the ball. Dark Phoenix. You see how much money it made over the weekend? It's pretty
It was
bad.
like 33 million.
Yeah, the lowest it's ever made.
Yeah, that's pretty
Franchise.
bad.
Yeah, franchise is definitely dead. Going back to Marvel. Go and you know,
Yeah,
once they slap
and
that Feige logo on it, it's going to take off again.
well, and I think we're ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be as much as I love uh, McAvoy and the cast, Jennifer Lawrence, like they're done, we're done. Let's give them an applause and a send off, and let's just move on, and let's not try to squeeze this anymore.
Yeah.
So, which I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly Marvel's going to do with this property. Are they gonna bring it in to the actual MCU, or are they going to keep it separated? I've heard rumors that they're going to bring it in, but man, what a interesting way they're going to have to go about that to explain where these mutants have been the entire
Hmm.
thing. You can't pull off the Captain Marvel story, too many times.
Right.
She was in space for 20 fucking years. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't use that too many times.
I
So
wonder if they're going to go with like a parallel universe, and they're going to use the same X-Men, and they're just going to cross them over.
yeah, that's not out of the realm, especially with this multi-dimensional multiverse that they're doing, with the new Spider-Man, so they're definitely introducing that, and they can totally jump on board with that. And honestly, I would be down with that, especially if you kind of use the Fantastic Four, to kind of lead that, because like they tried to do in the Fant Four Stick movie that came out a few years ago.
Oh yeah. The Josh
The
Trank.
multiple,
Yeah.
yeah, where they went to another dimension. It'd be kind of cool to see them come from another dimension, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how the mutants get involved. We can theorize all day, but it's definitely got to be something they have to handle with integrity and care in order to sell it. So,
Well, since you brought up moving on from X-Men, I thought we'd talk about the Snyder Cut. So Warner Brothers is not going to be at Hall H this year. What are your thoughts
nope.
about that?
Well, you tell me your thoughts on it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on it, but I'm curious to see what you think about it.
I really think Warner Brothers doesn't really give a fuck either way about the movement or the fans. I mean,
Yeah,
I think they were always planning not to be a Comic-Con, and it's kind of sucks because we had this Snyder Cut project that has $20,000 raised for it already, and they were going to make a big loud noise at Comic Con in front of Warner Brothers, and like that plan's gone to shit. And so I mean, it's still gonna make noise, but it would have been better if the panel was there. We could have did it during the Warner Brothers panel, and that I mean, it's just not an option anymore.
yeah, that's true, and and this could also be a move from on Warner Brothers' part. Kind of like, well, we identify that they're doing this movement, so let's just not show up.
Not show up.
And
But are they ever going to show up again, though? I think they're planning not to do Comic Con anymore. Kind of like how Sony is not doing E3 anymore. They're doing like their
yeah,
own thing.
yeah, I mean, they could, and that's, I don't know. I posted a video a few weeks back. It didn't. I don't think it panned over very well because I said something about the Project Comic Con, and I was like, as much as I'm behind the Project Comic Con, and I respect these guys and what they're doing and all their the footwork they're putting into it. It's almost like, well, maybe reaching out at the Comic Con event is not the
Practical.
best way. It's not the best way. And what I said in the video, it's almost like you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere where everyone pretty much knows what you're talking about, so you're not really introduced, or maybe you are. I mean, there's still quite a bit of people that don't know about it. On my end, I'm pretty involved with the local film scene and where I live. I do some minor films and stuff like that. And I even put a little thing on Facebook. Who knows about the Snyder Cut and what's your thoughts on it? And I only got 2 responses. One from another YouTuber, Durbania, Chris Durbin. He said, I think it will be out in 20 more years. I think they'll release it in 20 years. And then somebody else said, I don't know anything about it. And like, nobody knows about this outside of the Comic-Con community or the moviegoers. And I don't know. I feel like if you want to get it out there has to be a different angle to take, to make it more known for everyday people. Because the whole movement is not only to get the cut released, but to shine light on what's actually going on behind the scenes. The wrongdoings. I mean, what they did to Zack Snyder was pretty fucked up, man.
Yeah, I mean,
using his daughter's death as a platform to go behind his back and reshoot the movie. That's just wrong.
yeah, it's wrong on a lot of levels. I mean, most people don't really care about that sort of behind the scenes stuff until like years down the road, right? And we're looking back on it, but
yeah.
I mean,
Hindsight is 20/20.
yeah, and I agree with you. Not a lot of people know about this at all. At least most people I talk to that aren't subscribed to me, they have no idea. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a process just to explain it.
Yeah, like I'm doing. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 48 Film Project. Yeah, well, it's a little film thing that they do. It's nationwide, but essentially you show up to this place and with all these other filmographers, and they give you a topic and a line of dialogue, and you have 48 hours to shoot a 10-minute long film, to shoot it and edit it and turn it back in, and it's a competition.
Cool.
So I'll be doing that this summer, and so I'm on this chat board with all the other actors and directors, and I'm like, hey, why don't we incorporate like a hashtag release a Snyder Cut into somewhere in the film. And none of these guys have any clue what I'm talking about, or they're like, dude, we're not a cult, we're not doing that. And I'm like, oh, see, this is the image that they're getting, and that's a lot of the problem behind the movement. I think is people see it as a kind of a cult following, and even I don't believe that, I don't think that, but I can see where they see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can.
And that's something that we need to get out of. If you want to make a good impact, we have to get out of the shadows of looking like that. So.
Yeah, it doesn't help when people are attacking people like John Aaron Garza on Twitter and stuff like that. I'm sure you saw like all that fiasco go down. People that genuinely are supporting the Snyder Cut, making articles, trying to spread the word. They're usually targeted by people in the movement, by other supporters of Snyder. It's not people outside the movement that are attacking them for talking about Snyder. It's fellow Snyder fans. And
the civil war between Snyder fans is never a good sign for a movement. That your movement has its own civil war. That's never a good thing.
Right? Like if you just said like if you just came out tomorrow and said Legends of the Guardian sucked, people would just get on you about that, right?
Right.
Like you have to like every little thing Zack Snyder's ever done, or else you're not really a Zack Snyder fan. You're faking it. But it's just.
Oh yeah. I mean, after I did that video and I kind of said, I feel like we're preaching to the choir a little bit. I actually lost about 4 subscribers, and I think it's because of that. I don't know for sure, but and nobody said anything about it. But I lost 4 subscribers the very next day, and I think it's because I said that. Even in the video, I was like, I'm not shitting on the movement. I'm behind it 100%. But let's think about a different angle. We can go by. We've already done the plane. We've already done the pamphlets or whatnot. What else can we do? But all in all, that's focusing on the negative. The positive side is that the people behind this movement I feel they're going about it the right way, in the sense of half the money is going to the Suicide Prevention Association, and that shows good integrity behind them.
And it also can spread the word a lot better,
Right, absolutely. And I think diving into these these projects, like the 48 film project that I'm involved with, going into those areas and educating people about the actual Snyder Cut movement in those forums would actually be a good move. Educating people of interest, other filmmakers and writers and directors, up and coming or just starting out, or people who just do it for fun. You'll pique their interest, and you tell we want the movie to be shown, but that's the tip of the iceberg. Here's the rest of the iceberg. And I think if you go that route and try to focus towards those people, you'll probably pick up better momentum on the movement. So
yeah, people like to think there's a lot of people involved with the Snyder Cut, but it's really not. We're talking about a couple thousand people really that are really involved, really entrenched in this. But that wasn't the case when the movie first came out. You had over 100,000 people interested, day one, and since then it's been slowly falling away. People have been sliding away.
And a lot of it had to do with Comic-Con last year,
and the same thing's happening this year. And I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed again. Because they've been listening to people that can't verify sources, they can't give us any actual information, and people put so much faith in these Twitter guys, I guess you could say.
It's the blind leading the blind, and that's a dangerous game to play. That's why I try to stay away on my end. I try to stay away from hearsay. I've done that before, and I was eaten up immediately. I posted something like, "Oh, well, I heard about this," and then people just trampled me, and I'm like, "Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna stay away from that sort of thing. Not my cup of tea." But I agree with the Snyder Cut movement. There's something about it that it speaks to me. The wrongdoing and the actual story behind it. I mean, there could be a movie made about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
itself,
totally
and so I'm behind it 100%. And I know on my end, I'm trying to figure out how I can go about supporting the movement in my own sort of way. And something I'm probably going to start doing here soon, I've already got my first interview lined up, is I'm going to start interviewing local filmographers and directors in my town, in my local town where I'm from, and kind of just talk to them about where they're at, and maybe educate them on the Snyder Cut if they don't know about it, and if they do, discuss it with them.
Yeah.
I even got one guy who he hated Batman v Superman. He said it was the worst Batman movie Batman and Superman movie I've ever seen. The worst comic book adaptation. And I started picking his brain about it. I'm like, why do you think that? And he started saying, he only saw the theatrical cut, and he started picking out key points in the movie that it's almost like if you don't know where this is going, you're going to be confused. Like the Flash dream sequence.
Yeah.
Confused a lot of people, including this person. And once I explained to him where that was going to go, he seemed a little bit more interested, and he even agreed with me to do a live viewing of the movie. A person who loves this movie and a person who hates this movie, and he's willing to give it another chance, and we're going to go live on YouTube with it whenever we can get our schedules to match up.
The Ultimate Edition, right?
Oh yeah, there's another edition. There's more than just the Ultimate. Yeah, I like when I got the Blu-ray for the Ultimate Edition, it came with the theatrical DVD, and I gave that to my son, and my son just looked at me like, "Fuck you, man!" Like he's like, I'm okay. I got a new coaster. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be interested in listening to all those interviews and stuff. I find it very interesting to talk to people who don't know anything about the Snyder Cut, because they do get interested pretty quick after you tell them like what happened with Zack Snyder and stuff. But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to Snyder Cut at Comic-Con?
Well, I mean, either way you look at this, I mean, if Warner Brothers is not going to be there because of the Snyder Cut, then they've heard of it, they know about it and they're affected by it, or they're just 100% ignoring it. Either way, just stick to your guns and think of new, creative, positive ways to get the message out there, the correct message, not just to see the movie be made message, but, everything behind it, and stay positive, be friendly, don't argue with people, even people you think that are in it for collective gain, whatever, man. It's just let them do their thing. If you don't like them, don't watch them, don't listen to them, don't follow them. But keep the Civil War part down. Like that's not a good look.
Yeah, we all can't say the same exact thing or agree on everything. I mean,
if we did, YouTube wouldn't be successful. If we all had the same opinions about shit, it wouldn't be successful. That's what makes us interesting, is our own uniqueness, and so just respect that. That's all I gotta say about that, man. Just respect each other and agree to disagree when the time comes.
Oh. But if anybody says the MCU is good, you can attack them. you can throw them under the bus.
I've been watching your videos, man. You definitely got something to say about the MCU.
It's not my cup of tea. I'll just say that.
See, like, this is why I don't do movie reviews, man. I'm such a simpleton when it comes to like entertainment. Like very far and few between. Where I'll be like, man, that movie was shit. That movie was terrible. Like, I'm always like, glass is half full. Like, I always try to find the positive, even in the shittiest movie.
That's always me though when I walk out of a film. It's either like it's 100% I loved it, or like 100% it was trash. Like I'm very in the middle.
That's a common thing in the world today. It's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
And I even told my son this. I was like, he'll be talking about a movie or something he read, and he'll be like, oh, it was terrible. It was the worst thing. I'm like, is it really the worst thing?
No.
Or you just didn't like it, so you're saying it's the worst thing. Like there's a difference. There's just go on a 1 to 10 scale. Where are you at on that?
And I can use scales.
Yeah. Well, he'd be like, oh, it's -5. I'm like, oh, you don't get the point of the scale. Okay. So I haven't seen Godzilla. I really wanted to. But I have watched your discussion about it. Dude, like, I really want to see this movie. Just so I wish I could talk to you about it, because I don't care if you want to say something about it now. Like, I don't care about spoilers. I mean, it sounds like it's pretty much Pacific Rim. That's kind of how they went.
Good comparison, honestly. I mean, I watched the Godzilla again. I went to the theaters again and I watched it for a second time because I really wasn't understanding like why people were loving the film. Like,
right.
But I kind of understood. I mean, the fights are cool. It does, it's a big spectacle. But those characters, like, it's almost non-existent. Like, with it's so bland with the story and characters, and that's like 60-70% of the movie. So that's what I was looking at the whole time.
And the 2014 version was kind of opposite of that.
Yeah, it was character driven, and it teased the monster. I mean, I really like that 2014 one just for like Bryan Cranston alone. I think that's like the best performance in any Godzilla film. And I mean, I've seen some of these the older 70s Godzilla films where it's dudes in a suit and Godzilla's doing a drop kick. And I get enjoyment out of those films, And so I can see why people get enjoyment out of the new one. I understand.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed to watching a big CGI Godzilla do a drop kick.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that would be so cool.
But it always kind of goes back to why did they go this completely different way with this Godzilla?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
there's a common denominator here: Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
and they're I don't know they're fight or flight mentality.
Yeah.
They a little bit of criticism, they want to go a complete opposite direction.
It's
Like that's
crazy.
and it's very prevalent. I mean, they repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. I mean, take it back to Tim Burton. Batman Returns.
Too dark.
Yeah, too dark. And then 2 movies later, oh, it's too light. It's too campy. They went completely changed direction. Now there was Batman Forever, which was kind of a bridge, if you will, but it was definitely way campier tone than the Burton films.
At least Schumacher tried a little bit with Forever.
Then the inmates took over the asylum.
Yeah.
On that one, like they gave him a little bit of leeway for creative justice, and he just fucking went weird with it. And but that's Warner Brothers again, just like doing it's either going to be this direction or a complete opposite direction.
But I don't understand. It's like, why did they like Godzilla 2014 got a lot of good reviews. Like why wouldn't you like double down on what made the movie work? And that was like Bryan Cranston. So why wouldn't you try to like do another like story driven Godzilla with a high caliber actor? Like you got try to go that route and make the fights worth watching. Make it like build up to the fights and stuff.
You mean meet in the middle?
Oh yeah. Not just the bread,
that's crazy.
Sandwich.
They don't focus on the positives. They only focus on the negatives and try to just work on that. That's what it seems like to me. The complaints from the 2014 film. We didn't see the monster.
We didn't see the monster. Not enough Bryan Cranston. Like those were the main complaints.
Right. Yeah. So what did? They took those negative. Those negative comments, and they based the entire next movie to please that specific crowd. While not paying attention to the people like, well, the story was great. The acting was impeccable. You got to listen to both sides here. Yeah. And then again, Justice League, same thing. Exact thing.
Already shot the film. Like after they already shot the film, then they want to make all these changes to it.
Dude, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall
when they were making decisions.
When they're making those decisions, like what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, are you just throwing darts at a random chart? Like with words on it, with random words on it, and this is what we're gonna do today. Okay, like I don't understand. It's like they got monkeys in there just randomly, flinging poo at shit. Like it's terrible. And that comes back onto the studio. Unfortunately, not everyone sees that. They don't think it's the studio. They think, oh, there's the bad director, bad writing, bad this.
Well, who hired them,
Right. And not only hired them, but who micromanaging them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Warner Brothers is the common denominator here with these movies going one way and then taking a completely different turn. And like someone just needs to go into Warner Brothers and be like, dudes, stop. You gave us hope. You gave us hope with the Nolan trilogy a little bit. Like it was consistent. It didn't sway one way or the other. The third one was a little different.
Hey, at least it was a fucking good movie. At least.
Oh, dude, I've watched that movie so many times. Like I know every word of that movie.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, the Nolan trilogy was a solid director-driven film, and they let the guy tell the story. They let him tell the stories, and then they put him Nolan as a producer onto the new Superman universe, and then they just reneged. They backed out.
I mean, that was after they already failed with the Green Lantern. I think that was when the Warner Brothers really started micromanaging these DC superheroes after the Nolan trilogy. Well, actually, I think it was before. I think Green Lantern came out like 2011. And so they were already well underway of reshooting fucking remaking the movie after it's already done. I mean,
Yeah. But anyhow, like the Snyder getting involved with the Superman, Man of Steel, and Nolan kind of being, behind him, pushing, hey, this guy is a great director, let him do his thing. At what point in time did Nolan lose his voice? Because you got to imagine that he was around during this whole debacle with Justice League. Where was Nolan's voice during that? I'm very curious to see
I don't
what
know
his
if he
thoughts
was
are
in
on
the
all this.
credits with Batman versus. I don't think he was in the credits for Batman versus Superman. I don't know.
Oh,
I think he was expecting Warner Brothers to at least try to work with Zack Snyder a little bit because he was handpicked by Christopher Nolan. Uh,
right.
but second Nolan leaves, there's no one there to buffer the studio in between Zack Snyder and the studio. So
Yeah. And Nolan leaves to work on his own projects, and out of the shadows come Warner Brothers
Warner Brothers. Yeah.
executives, like putting their fist in their hands, looking like they're about to beat Snyder up.
Mhm.
Like, all right, buddy,
But
we're gonna do this the
after
way you want.
Justice League and all these DC films and Shazam and stuff, do you think it's a better idea to reboot or just keep going with this universe they have?
Oh man, I'm on the fence, but the more time goes on, I'm leaning more towards just reboot it,
Yeah.
mainly because we've been ghosted by Warner Brothers and we essentially have no idea what they're doing. And it's driving at least me crazy. Like what are you guys doing? Like, okay, Superman's in this one, but you cut his head off. Like, you got a body double, but you're still using the same Superman?
The same
Yes, no,
suit.
yes, no. Right, you're rebooting, you're redoing Batman. So what are you going to do if you continue this cinematic universe? You can't just not talk about Batman anymore. You can't just keep him in the
The shadows.
yeah. I was going to say that. I'm like, well, actually, that is where Batman belongs. But you know what I mean. Like, how are they going to go about that? Which brings me to the point of maybe there's still a chance Affleck could return, because if he doesn't, they're just going to either have to recast him or just not talk about Batman anymore. And as much as I'd like to see this universe continue, I don't know. It's almost dead in the water. I think Wonder Woman is going to answer a lot of those questions for us, though.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe it won't. I don't know. Warner Brothers has this uncanny ability to disappoint me. So
pull out all the Easter eggs to the universe.
yeah,
Wonder Woman does something that ties in.
It needs to, man. It absolutely needs to. And we need it to. Fans need it to.
But on to the Robert Pattinson casting.
Yes.
What do you think about that? I think it's fine, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. Movie fans have sometimes forget that actors can act.
Yeah.
We seem to attach these actors to certain roles that we've seen them in before, and we think that's the limit of their ability. Or even if they are Oscar-winning actors, they do one role you don't like, and you don't want them in any other movie because of that one role. Prime example, Ben Affleck. Oscar-winning actor, writer, director. Does Daredevil, and all of a sudden he's the worst actor in the world, and how dare he think he can fill the
and the director's cut of Daredevil isn't even that bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not that bad.
No, and Daredevil was essentially a product of its time.
Yeah.
It was almost like late to the party.
Mm-hmm.
It still had that like late 90s, early 2000s, like comic book movie feel to it, but we were just kind of coming down off that high, I think. And it has kind of showed up a little late to the party, and I think that's where it got affected the most. I think if it came out a few years before, maybe it would have done better. Yeah, a lot of that movie, Ben Affleck wasn't the problem.
No, not at all. I mean, I think Ben Affleck is a great actor. I mean, he has an eye for filmmaking. Any film he's a part of has a better chance of succeeding just because he's there. Honestly,
yeah.
That's why I was so disappointed when he dropped out of the Batman movie entirely, because it's like that's another talented person that's not involved anymore. In any capacity, really. So
exactly, but Robert Pattinson, let's give him a chance, man. I'm not gonna shit on this guy. You know, was I a fan of Twilight?
No.
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 I'm an old monster movie fan, man. Like I'm a give me the 1938 Bela Lugosi Dracula. You
Nice.
know, give me that Dracula. You know, or even the remake of that one with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves that they made in the late '90s
Oh yeah.
or early '90s. That sometime in the '90s, and that even that Dracula was like, that's what I'm looking for. Twilight, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I digress. You know, it's
Back to
just
Robert
my
Pattinson.
opinion. But Robert Pattinson, yeah, let's give him a shot. Let's beef him up a little bit. My biggest complaint with the Christian Bale Batman, a little too skinny. I get it. Realistic world. All right, that's cool. But we deserve a brutal Batman again.
Ben Affleck Batman. Yep. That's what we deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, please, just don't rip the Band-Aid off, man. Like let's take it easy here. Let's lead us into it.
The best Batman moment from BVS is when he's in the warehouse, right? And he's punching that dude on the ground over and over. I thought that was the greatest Batman moment ever.
Oh yeah, dude! Like it reminds me of you ever seen The Mask with Jim Carrey?
Yeah, yeah.
At the end of that movie where he just like punches that one guy and it felt so good, he just kept punching him repeatedly. Yeah, same exact concept. It's like, okay, you made your point, Batman. Like now you're just doing it because you got some shit to deal with.
You're just doing it because you're having fun now, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's man, I love the deep layer of that Batman of the bat flick. And I hope they go that route with this new one.
No, it's gonna be. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be as surface level as like Schumacher Batman, but it's Matt Reeves. You know, he's done really good films in the past. I think he can, give us something unique. I mean, he mentioned something about film noir while talking about Batman.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool, a detective noir type thing.
Right, absolutely, and yeah, I'm 100% down with that. But of course, Warner Brothers, in true Warner Brothers fashion,
they'll fuck it up.
Well, they've already kind of like, in my opinion, they've already kind of started. It's like, well, we're a director-driven company, and we want to refocus on that. Matt Reeves is like, well, here's my script. Not enough action. Rewrite it.
We're not
all
that
right,
committed.
come on, come on, Warner Brothers. Here you go again, up to your old tricks. At least that's the way I feel about it. As soon as I hear their involvement, it's like, here we go.
Yeah, I don't really know where the desperation from Warner Brothers is coming from because they're the third biggest studio in Hollywood. It's them, Comcast, and Disney. It's like that's it. That's like all your Hollywood movies. And like what do they have to worry about? It's like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But
Yeah, well, I think, and that's their movies. I would imagine where they're coming from is they're trying to cash in on that after movie stuff, all the toys and the games and which is Marvel is banking off that shit,
Uh-huh.
And Warner Brothers could too if they didn't try to mimic another company, all right, so you have DC, you have DC, which is involved with Mortal Kombat, in the video game world realm. Let's focus on that. Let's go down that road and make money that way. Yeah, it's going to be more teenage, young adult driven consumer, but that's what you are. I mean, you have DC. That's understand what it is and roll with it.
You'll make fans for life. You target the young people, and they'll stick with you for life. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Marvel's to me. It's like that's your parents give you Marvel growing up, and then someday. When you're a teenager, out of the shadows comes a DC fan, lights up a cigarette, and introduces you to DC. You're like, oh man, this is wrong, but it's so good. But I think that's a lot of Warner Brothers intimidation is, the cash cow that they feel like they're missing out on because they're not marketing in an original fashion. They're just trying to. Well, Marvel sells. These toys and, has these massive video games. We need to copy that. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. Stop. If you would have let Snyder make his films, you would have plainly seen that Marvel was actually looking at you.
They would have caught
You
us
know,
probably. They would have caught us.
right? The Justice League came out the way it should have came out. You would have beat what Marvel did with Endgame and Infinity War. You would have beat. They would have beat them to that punch.
Yeah.
You know, the time travel and the multiverse. You know, so on and so forth. They would have beat them to that punch. They just need to stick with Snyder's vision and understand that even though you feel like the underdog, you know, Marvel's essentially standing on the shoulders of greater men.
That's where you want to be, though. You don't want to be the evil empire. Everybody wants the rebels to win, right? Nobody
Right.
wants, a giant corporation to be a monopoly,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Disney is, and it's on its way to being. I mean, I'm surprised. I'm surprised they're legally allowed to do what they're doing. Right
Yeah,
now.
I heard there was
So,
something about that where like Congress was like looking into them because they were owning too many like news media
yeah,
channels and stuff.
yeah, they're monopolizing on things. What they just. I think they just fully bought out Hulu, or they're going to.
Yeah, they're combining it all into one giant streaming service.
Right. You know, I mean, and for what? There's like $7 a month. I mean, you can't beat that. They're the Walmart of movie companies, and
Mhm.
and we all know that Walmart is not the best place to support. It kills local businesses, you know. But
Yeah.
you can get it bigger, better, cheaper, faster at Walmart and Disney. So there you go.
Essentially.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not a hard. I like the MCU. I know there's a fight in words with you, but you know, again, I'm easily amused. I like bright, shiny things, you know, and and Marvel definitely, gets my attention that way. So I don't want to shit on them too much, but at the same time, I can see the writing on the wall with them. Like, I see what you guys are doing. You're overtaking everything. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they bought out Warner Brothers eventually and AT&T.
Yeah, I used to like the Phase 1 Marvel movies. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. We're getting some superheroes I've never really
Yeah.
read about before. Maybe they'll get to Green Lantern one day. Yeah.
Coming back to the Matt Reeves thing,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I think there could be a connective tissue, like most people I think are seeing now, to connect that into the main universe. I even did a video last year about how Matt Reeves could actually fix the DCEU with his prequel. And essentially the theory was going around anyway. I kind of went into detail about how I thought they could do it, but I thought maybe they could make this, get a younger Batman in there, have Ben Affleck kind of narrate this story, and have this this whatever he's needing to use his detective skills on, have that span over multiple years. Like this is an ongoing unsolved thing.
Yeah, like
and then
something like that.
yeah, exactly. And then kind of show the evolution of how this Batman with the high integrity of no killing and and doing the right thing, while being a vigilante, beating the shit out of criminals, show him kind of go down this dark path of where we ended up seeing him.
Exactly.
In Batman v Superman. I even said, at the very end of the Matt Reeves movie, they could very easily have that be the beginning of Batman v Superman, like, when Superman and Zod are, fighting in Metropolis, like have that, or even the when Zod shows up, the "you are not alone."
Oh yeah.
Have that be like the last scene
in the Batcave. Oh.
Right, exactly. Like his whole television, his whole interface was overtaken. While he's in the Batcave, "You are not alone."
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I think that would have been, at least in my dream world, a good route to go and make some connective tissue. And I even think telling that story, that evolution of Batman, actually probably would have helped people going back and seeing Batman v Superman again.
Yeah, and then understanding why he is the way he is and stuff.
Right, and I think that was the big problem with Batman v Superman is
people were expecting Batman like as he always is. They weren't expecting this new version of him.
Yeah, and I agree with Christopher Nolan. I read. I don't have a site to quote here, but I read a long time ago that Nolan actually suggested that Snyder was killing off Superman a little too soon, that he needed another movie as a buffer.
Uh-huh.
And I agree with that. I agree that there could have been another movie to kind of show the emotional decline in both of these characters, so we weren't so shocked to see them as they were in Batman v Superman, or at least the general audience wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
To me, I thought the movie was fantastic. It felt like watching what people felt like watching Wizard of Oz, in 1939 or whatever. You're like, that's what I felt seeing this movie. It was a perfect theatrical film. Or not, well, not the theatrical version, but you know what I mean. Like, it was.
I liked it in theaters. It definitely had holes, but I was filling in the holes because I'm just yeah.
The biggest problem that I had leaving the theater was, why did Superman just leave the Congress building after it blew up?
Yeah. And
then, because they cut out him helping everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that shook me the wrong way. And then when I saw the Ultimate Edition, I'm like, okay, all right. Him helping ended up being more of an awkward moment,
Yeah.
Like, we can take it from here, Superman. Thanks.
Yeah, they don't trust him anymore. I mean, that was just like, why cut that out? Like, there's so much they could have kept in. Oh my God.
But yeah, I agree that a buffer movie would have been a better idea for a general audience.
Yeah.
But
I wonder, I think maybe Zack Snyder was trying to do like a thing where you start with the ending and then like you work your way back to the beginning type thing. And that's what the whole universe was going to be. Like, we were going to,
yeah.
But,
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we saw that movie in theaters, I told my son, I was like, people aren't going to understand what this movie is about.
Yeah.
For at least another 2 or 3 movies. Even Kevin Smith, he kind of dogged on it at first. He's like, there's no heart.
Yeah.
There's no heart. Where's the heart? And then he kind of went back. He said he saw it again, and he said he found the heart the second time he watched it, when Jason Mewes, leaned over and goes, parademons, man, parademons. He's like, that's the heart of this movie. It's for the comic book fans. That's the heart of it. And unfortunately, not everyone are comic book fans.
It's a small demographic of people. When you look at how many people actually read or buy comics, it's a small amount of people compared to like the rest of the country. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm by all means not claiming to be a comic book fan. I never got into comic books, but I'm a huge storytelling fan. So I saw where he was going in storytelling, and that's what I loved about that movie. But yeah, I think a good buffer would have definitely benefited from that, and Matt Reeves could still put out that kind of bufferish type of movie if he puts some connective tissue between his Batman film and the DCEU, or the Worlds of DC, or whatever they're calling it now. So.
Well, since they cast Robert Pattinson, it's probably going to definitely be a younger Batman. I wonder if it's going to be the Batman before he even meets like Robin. Like, is it that young version of him, or is he Robin there at the beginning?
Well, there's I guess there's a rumor, speculation saying that Robin could actually be in this film.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind seeing a young, like 13, 15-year-old Robin. Not the older Robins that we've gotten. Obviously, they're not doing an origin story with Batman here, so he's been around for maybe, I'd say 3 to 8 years at the point that we're going to see him in this movie. So I think that'd be a good time to introduce a good Robin story, and Batman is trying to be this detective, and sometimes you need multiple eyes to be a good detective, and maybe that's where Robin can come into play here.
I think it'd be a nice little end credits scene. He gets Robin for the first time, or he recruits Robin or something, and then the next movie starts, and they're a duo.
But then you'd have to tell if you go the Dick Grayson route, then you have to
do the whole
circus family thing, and we've I don't know. I mean, I'm not so sure that's.
Would that work today?
Right. I don't think, and especially in a serious driven movie, I don't think that's a very cinematic friendly way to tell that story.
Yeah.
I was with Nolan on his Robin a little bit. I didn't like the fact that they made his name Robin.
That was silly. Yeah, that
was. It's like, okay, listen. We saw you pull up to the house, man. You don't have to honk the horn. Like, we get it. Okay, he's taking up the mantle. The whole Robin thing was.
He
Name
did
was a
that
little
for
weird.
mainstream audiences because if they said Grayson, I like that name, Grayson, nobody would have got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But
so.
Yep. Do you have any other things you want to talk about? Is there any other news that came out today?
Let's see. Project Comic Con, Dark Phoenix. Oh, New Mutants. That's not really DC, but what do you think's happening to those guys?
I haven't seen much of it. I think I saw that one little teaser trailer they had for it. Yeah. Did they delay it again? When's it coming out?
Yeah, I think it's 2020 or 2021.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a 2-3 year delay.
It's got to be because of the Disney Fox merger thing.
Yeah, and poor Anya Taylor-Joy. Like right now would be the perfect time for her to lead a movie like that because everyone's still on the high of the Unbreakable trilogy, in which she was fantastic in. It'd be perfect timing for her. And I like the horror route they were going to go with it. I thought that was an interesting, new, fresh take. But we'll see, man. I don't even think the actors know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they release it on the streaming service.
I'll definitely watch it. It's like my type of superhero type thing. I like the more grounded, darker, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word.
In that aspect, what did you think of the Fantastic Four movie that came out?
One?
Yeah.
Dude, I saw what they were going for. Like remember when Dr. Doom first gets out of that like little hospital area and he's walking through the walls and he's blowing up people's heads?
Yes, dude. You just quoted me verbatim. Whenever I talk about that movie, that's the exact scene I talk about.
Dude, there was something disturbing about it,
Right. I was like, the guy's literally splattering brains on the walls with his mind. Like, how awesome is that?
And shit. Like, it's horror. It's horrific. Yeah.
Oh, man. Another one studio got involved with there, and
I would love to see his original cut. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Josh Trank kind of suffered from what is it Bryan Singer? Is that who did the new X-Men movie? Anyway, he's the same one that did the original 3, and him doing what we talked about earlier, him kind of being a new director, and what he probably needed a consultant. I think Josh Trank would have favored from the same sort of thing. Okay, listen, you did good with Chronicle, but this is a major motion picture. Let's give you somebody to kind of guide you in the right direction, rather than abandon them when they see a little bit of disturbance. The guy was young director, not seasoned.
He's doing a new take on Fantastic Four. It was going to be more body horror,
Dude, and I was all for it, man. They sold me when they told me it was inspired from The Fly.
Yeah.
He wanted that sci-fi horror thing. They sold me. For a long time, I thought I was the only person looking forward to that movie. And then when it came out, I was like, dude, I see the problems, but I really see a lot of potential with this movie.
Yeah.
And I even was going to do a review, something like, how bad was it really, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then when I watched it in that mindset, now how bad was it really? That's when I was like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fucking problems with this movie.
Yeah. And definitely more problems than good things.
But man, what I wouldn't give to see that team be the team that kind of comes out of the alternate dimension into the new MCU. And that's how you introduce your, X-Men mutant thing. Man, I would pay money to see that for sure. So,
yeah, I was definitely interested in his direction in that Fantastic Four film. That one's shot with the Thing when he was first waking up too. Cool shot. He's like moaning in pain. I thought that was great.
They handled the Thing for the most part. I thought they handled him great in that movie. The graphic was pretty on point. His color was a little off. Like, I didn't like the brown color. He kind of did look like a giant walking turd at some point.
Yeah.
But, so a more orange color would have been more visually appealing to me. But, when he talked, when he moved, it just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, you could see him in pain. It was great.
Yeah. They did such a great job with him. And I don't know what the big fuss was with the whole the Michael B. Jordan debacle. They had a different race actor playing. Like, stop with that.
Step Brothers, like, get over it.
Right, like they explained it, and I thought they explained it with class. They didn't make him the adopted one; they made the white girl the adopted one.
Yeah,
they're like, good for you, good move. And that was a direct commentary from Trank's life, because Trank was an adopted child. And that's why he.
That.
That's why he put that in there, because that's something he related to.
Wow.
Yeah, and I could see that. Like, you could see that was handled by somebody who knew what they were, talking about.
Mm.
So, but hopefully, New Mutants doesn't fall into the same fate as Fantastic Four. But if it does, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So,
at this point, with the Disney Fox merger, it feels like every former Fox property is getting like a huge shift. That's probably why Dark Phoenix came out the way it did, because they reshot the last third of the movie. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah.
Well, no, I did, and I don't know what the original last third of the movie looked like, but I did like the train sequence.
The train sequence was all right.
And that was one of the reshoots, the train sequence.
Mm.
But I did, at that moment, I did kind of feel like I was watching a different movie. I was very aware that was a reshoot, even though it was a cool reshoot. I was very aware of the different directing angle they went with that. And when it comes to that movie, man, I'm not. When it comes to the new X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix, I'm not opposed. Like, I don't think it was 100% crap movie. I think that the actors. They did their job. They did okay. I just think the director needed some assistance, and translating what he was trying to say. And the Phoenix story itself just died. It didn't hit with me. The aliens
like
coming
feminist
in.
aliens. It was kind of odd. It was kind of
I don't even I was not invested in their
yeah
in their contribution to the movie at all. They could have not been in that movie, and that movie would have been exactly the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man, it is another missed mark, and I think a lot of that has to do with not only them, using an inexperienced director, but also I think a majority of people were just pretty much done with them after Days of Future Past, and then Apocalypse came out, and they're like, okay, whatever. And now this came out, yeah, we're dead, we're done. Well, I think we beat that one to the ground.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, man. I think that's a good place to stop for now. We went on for an hour here. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. This is my first time doing this.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
Shucks, man. Cool, man. I appreciate it. We should do it again sometime. All right, yeah. And how do we do this? How do we end this thing? I don't know.
Just say goodbye. I'm gonna. Everybody, if you're listening, go ahead and subscribe to Film Trigger's channel. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. Everybody, go on and subscribe to him. Show him some love.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it, man. And love right back at you, brother. So, all right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.
Being friendly